Tyler Tometich is a visual effects artist.
His career spans Hollywood hits like Thor, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel. I mean, how cool is that? But then over the pandemic, Tyler started to get a little itchy. Being stuck at home, he took to the online space and became a content creator. He then grew his following to over 500,000 followers by producing viral videos that appeal to visual effects enthusiasts. He now has online courses where he's taught over 1,200 students and built a six-figure business. But it always wasn't so easy. Tyler generously shares his story today of going through addiction as a young man to building his way to the conventional entertainment space, bravely leaving that to pursue his own thing. Sounds pretty unconventional, doesn't it? In this conversation, you're going to hear how even though Tyler was phenomenal in making videos, that didn't necessarily lead to a following, and he shares what he did to turn that around. He also talks about his first product launches, again, not working at the beginning, but the adjustments he made to launch it into six figures. And he also shares the thing he cut out at the beginning of his videos that made all the difference.
This, my friends, is Tyler Tometich.
You're awesome at making videos. So people might be shocked to hear that, like, you worked with somebody to help you on social, because wouldn't making great videos be enough to blow up on social?
You would think so, and that's a big misconception. A lot of small business owners come to me, they see my videos and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I just want to stand out on social media. That's kind of the understanding, is that if I make really cool videos, like, they're going to blow up. But it's not quite that simple. There is a lot of like psychology and thought process and strategy involved, especially now that there's so many people online. The goal that they think they have is, oh, I want to make viral videos. But really what they need, especially if it's a business owner, what they need is
What was the one or two things that light bulb moment was for you in your content that you had to switch?
The biggest thing that was actually the hardest thing for me to do, and I don't know why, but I now understand because I see other people doing the same thing, is
So Tyler here on Instagram has a skill set that I am just freaking jealous of. Mad editing, special effects skills. It's like you make movies for social media. It's like what you would see on the big screen, but in your feed. And then I learned that you actually did work with movies, shows, so forth. That was original intent. And then you've been able to take that skill set and bring it into the social media side. And here's the cool part: not help professional filmmakers make professional films, but everyday people like me who love storytelling and content just get better at it so that our content stands out above the rest. I start twitching and getting anxiety when thinking about editing and all the stuff that you do. But I'm hoping today, Tyler, you can demystify the process a little bit. And I also just want to pick your brain as one creator to the next, what it's freaking like building something, online and trying to sustain it as a family man, a grown up. We're not 20 anymore. We can't eat ramen noodles and just hope it works out. We got to figure crap out. Anyway, big ass introduction, Tyler. Dude. I am so freaking grateful that you jumped on. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm pumped to be here. I love your show, I could say. It's your channel, but I'll call it the Heather Show.
The Heather Show.
Super entertaining. I remember when I found you and was just like entertained right off the bat and just started binging a bunch of videos, and it's like this chick is cool. Thanks. I don't know if that's offensive to call you a chick, but
I call myself a chick. That's cool.
All right.
I'm curious. I have a lot of storytelling kind of questions around the edit and the framing of videos, and we're going to geek out on that in a second. But this was not your plan from the beginning. From what I understand, you had dreams and aspirations to work in more of the conventional entertainment space. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Well, you're like, yes.
Yeah,
Tell me the story, man.
my journey is also a lot longer probably than people realize. So I don't know how far we want to go back. I'll try to nutshell it for you.
The day you were born.
Yeah. So I came out of the womb with a keyboard. No, No, but I took my first editing class in ninth grade, and I was basically just kind of like on the hip of my friend who was just super passionate about, like, he wanted to be a director, and we were young, and but he was
Where did you
super
live?
creative, and I kind of what's that?
Where were you living?
I in California in a town called Ukaipa.
The reason I'm asking is ninth grade, you had a friend who really wanted to be a director. I grew up in Arkansas, so ninth grade, we either wanted to be a pastor's wife or
Yeah.
over the homeschool group. So wanting to be a
Yeah.
director is so cool.
He got me into a lot, like we watched a lot of movies and like films. He was really into films, and I don't know if like he knew in his head that he wanted to be a director, but he was definitely had that passion there. Got me to take this editing course, and just we were just making little stupid videos all the time. Yeah, so that's where it started. Then I went through this whole phase, a darker part of my life that I was and addiction and alcoholism, and kind of like got away from all of the things that I loved for a long time. But then
Mm,
at a certain point, I found my way and made a big change. That was 2010. I got clean and sober.
congrats.
And
That's huge.
thank you. Yeah, coming up on 14 years, which is insane in its own. So after I kind of like got my head right, I had to figure out, like, okay, I can't just stay where I'm at. What do I want to do moving forward? So I'm thinking
Mm,
back, like, what are the things that I used to love? So after a couple of years of working on myself, got myself into community college, and through that process, I remember there was, what do you call it, a college fair or something like that, where all the colleges come
yeah,
there
yeah,
and
yeah.
they show you their pamphlets, and they try to get you to go to their school. Anyways, I saw this one for FITM. Don't know if you've heard of that before, but they had a digital media program, and obviously, like, their graphics were all flashy, and I was drawn to it. And I went over, and it was just like, just wasn't even a thought that I was going to go to another college, but they had this program and this scholarship program, and basically, like, you could win a scholarship to go to the school to that where they pay for the first year, or they have other scholarships. Um, it was a pipe dream that I didn't even know I had yet. But basically, I went back to my mom and told her, um, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna apply for this, and I'm gonna win, and I'm gonna move to LA, and I'm going to pursue this passion." And I was totally kidding, and she goes, "Okay."
Go
And like, I
mama.
just remember that moment in my life. Like, that's one of the big turning points in my life. Was like, oh my gosh, like, somebody believes in me. Yeah, that gives me the chills.
I literally got chills, man.
Just
Like
yeah,
I can like see your mom and the resolve, like, okay. I mean, how many of us just freaking need that from somebody, especially like somebody like a parent? That's a huge deal.
yeah, it was huge, and especially I wasn't expecting that response, because it was definitely like something that was just a huge
Mm,
endeavor. Okay,
mm,
so I applied for it. I won a partial scholarship, moved to LA, went to this digital media film school, went through that whole program, graduated with honors. So going through the whole program, to kind of like get to your question, is like what I thought I wanted to be the whole time. I always pictured myself as an editor. Going through this whole program, I'm learning filmmaking, I'm learning photography, I'm learning how to edit, all these different things. But I was drawn to something else the whole time. And I don't know
mm.
if you know who Andrew Kramer is through Video
Yeah,
Copilot, but
I
yeah,
sure
yeah.
do.
So
My
I'm
husband has his programs because he edits too. Yeah.
nice, dude. So like, that was another thing that just really was eye opening to me, was following Video Copilot. So I'm doing my homework for school, but really, like, my passion is pulling me towards these visual effects and After Effects, and it just totally opened my mind. Obviously, I learned a lot from college, but that was where my passion was leading me. So got out of school. Actually, I think before I ended, I jumped into an internship, which was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. It was a free internship, but it was at a VFX studio. So I got to kind of like shadow a couple of these guys for 3 months. And I learned more in that 3 months than I could ever learn in my entire life, probably. So shortly after that, was able to get a job in the industry. And
Wow.
I mean, it was more motion graphics than visual effects, but I was able to kind of do visual effects at the same time, and I was always doing it on the side. It was always this passion for me. So I jumped around at a couple of jobs, did some freelancing in my career that I had now built. And COVID happened. I get this opportunity to go work from home, and we're in LA at this time.
Can we pause
So
real quick?
we can pause. Yeah, tell me
Okay,
if I'm
we'll get no,
rambling
we'll
or
get
if
back to that. And you're not. There's three things you said that I want to just clarify real quick, and then we'll get back to COVID. Remind me. First of all, I just want to acknowledge that you're going through crazy ass addiction. Not only do you overcome that, you graduate with honors and you get a freaking badass job. So I want to highlight that first of all, like mad respect, but also to anybody who's listening who might feel like they're in a really, really dark place with addiction or whatever. I really want you to underline that because you prove that it's possible to not only
Mhm.
overcome something, but also to like completely change your lives. That's badass, dude. And I wanted to
Thank you.
just kind of press into that a little bit because I remember I think it was Stephen Pressfield. He talks about, I don't know if you're familiar with the war of art, but that if sometimes like really creative people, when it's not expressed, it can manifest through addiction and mental health stuff. And there's a strong correlation between creativity, addiction, and mental health. And there's actually a lot of like, peer-reviewed research on that as well. And I don't want that to be like a guiding question. Maybe you disagree with it, but was there any kind of link between creativity and any of the things you struggled with?
I can see that, like, that makes sense to me. I've always tried to figure out like what was it, because I had a good family. I was raised right,
Yeah.
and I ended up just in this crowd of people, and it was I never really figured out the core, but I know that being an only child, I always felt this like emptiness. And I don't know if it was from being an empty child or an empty child. I don't know if it was from being
Mm,
an only child or if there was something deeper like that. Maybe it was something to do with creativity. But I know that I was always trying to, even being an introvert like I was always trying to do things to catch the attention of people or friends, like not to show
mhm.
off, but to almost like fit in, you know?
Totally, yeah.
And like I remember the first time I smoked weed, for instance, it was because I was trying to impress this girl who later became my girlfriend. And I mean, we're talking about 12 years old, I think.
Oh,
And
wow.
then
Wow, wow, wow.
soon after that, I end up getting expelled from school for something similar. So I just like quickly went down this path, and I'm not sure what led me there, because it wasn't that I had a broken home.
Yeah,
But what you said kind of resonates. So maybe there was
yeah,
just something inside of me that
yeah. That's so
trying to
real,
come out.
man. That's so real. Introverted. That's the second thing I wanted to ask you about because you've mentioned in a few other videos, interviews I heard of yours, where you really highlighted your time working in the industry with how much you gained just from the people you were rubbing shoulders with and the people who were in the rooms. And the fact that you are introverted, I'm curious how you kind of leverage the knowledge in the room. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to bother people. I'm trying to get way
Mm.
better about asking questions and probing and kind of inserting myself into things. But I'm curious kind of how you were, because my assumption, tell me if I'm wrong, is you're kind of like you're newer in the industry. You're probably in the room with people who've been doing it longer than you've been alive. Maybe there was intimidation there. I don't know. But how did you really milk all the knowledge out of that room?
Let me step back for a second. So, going through recovery, there was I had a sponsor during the time,
Hmm.
and there's a quote that he would say: "If I have seen further than others, it is only because I stand upon the shoulders of giants." Right?
Yeah.
So that quote is super powerful to me, and I think that's one of the quotes that's really followed me through, because even every time I've been able to, I guess, next level or take the next step, it's always because somebody has been there to guide me, or I've been able to poke them for questions. So going into the industry, when in that type of industry, like if you get an assignment, you have to complete it. So I kind of didn't have a choice but to like get into these troubleshooting type of situations and just ask people. But also, so that's part of it, is that you don't really have a choice. The other part is when there's passion there and you just want to learn, it makes it a lot easier, you know? Like,
Yeah.
and I've definitely had to step out of my comfort zone. When you're sitting next to somebody, it's a lot easier than if they're across the room going up to them. So I think that's the main part of it. But going off of what you said, I like where I'm at now and maybe where my previous mentors were, is that I actually love helping people. Like I have a
Mm,
community of students, and I always tell people like my students don't ask for enough help. I actually really like it when people come to me and they have questions, and I can either give them the answer or I can help them find the answer. So it's almost like another form of troubleshooting
yeah, yeah.
and passion for me too.
I love that.
So if you ever have questions, don't hesitate to ask me.
Well, shoot, fire. I need to. The other question I had, and we'll get back to what happened during COVID, is just kind of a technical question. I don't know the difference. What do you mean, like special effects versus motion graphics?
In a simple explanation, motion graphics, you could think of more like text and flashy little animations going around the
Got it.
scene. So 2D elements that are not live people or scenes like we're looking at right now. That's more of a motion graphics. It's where you take an element that was either created or built and then you animate that. That's kind of
Okay.
motion. Like the words kind of explain it, right? Motion graphics. So you take graphics.
Oh,
Visual
I
effects,
see what you
the
did there.
difference.
All right.
Yeah, I know. It's
Follow
like
now. A little slow.
no, but I mean, I think that that's confusing for a lot of people because visual effects is when you take something that is real and you alter it.
Got it.
And then special effects is something that you do more on set. So if you have like a real life explosion on set, that would be a special effect. A visual effect would be if you add an explosion on the computer.
Damn. Okay, cool. So you were really passionate about the special effects, visual effects, and less on the motion graphics, but you were doing a lot of motion graphics.
Motion graphics are fun. I love that. It's very tedious, and I think that being in that industry, it's just kind of a job, right? You end
Hmm.
up where you're working for people that are looking over your shoulder, they're checking your work, they're constantly giving you notes. You're not really able to use your creativity fully.
I was going to ask about that.
Sometimes
Yeah.
yes, but I mean it becomes a job. And I found my place, or I found myself in a place where I thought that I was climbing this ladder to this place that I wanted to be. Great jobs, worked on amazing films and TV campaigns, and worked with really, really awesome people that I'm still connected with. But it, I wasn't getting where I wanted to be, and I still just ended up like sitting behind a desk and just doing what I was told. You know,
Where did you want to be?
I think I just wanted to climb the ladder of having more of, so early on I didn't want this because of that whole introvert part and
Hmm.
being uncomfortable, but as I was in Los Angeles and just thrown into this sea of people that you have to talk to and go out to different places and be more social, it did become more comfortable for me. So I grew to the point where I did want to kind of be more of a leader, a team leader, and I did get to lead on some projects for like the Thor Ragnarok campaign,
Hmm.
and I really really enjoyed that stuff. But I just, I don't know, it, my path wasn't seeing that at the end of the tunnel unless I wanted to become an art director or a creative director, and that's not really what I wanted. I wanted to be just more on the creative side, not necessarily telling people what to do, if that makes
Got it.
sense.
One more question, and then we'll go to COVID. Sorry, but I'm
No, you're
curious
fine.
on the editing side in that industry, are you dealing a lot with the directors and that side of stuff, or how much are they involved in peeking over your computer?
Yeah, so no, not so much at all. In the last company I was working, I was there for 6 years, I think, and there's different departments. So for the most part, we were post production. So
Hmm.
this company had a audio department, editing department, motion graphics department, and the motion graphics department is where I was at. So it was called graphics, and that's where we did visual effects and everything too.
Yeah,
There were directors that worked for the company, but it was more of a post production company. So we're
got
getting
it.
footage from like these Marvel movies or whatever campaigns we're working on, we're getting it sent to us. And then the
Got it.
editors cut it, and then they
Hmm.
send it to us with the selects. We work on those selects and then go back to the editors, and then the audio
Got
goes
it.
into the final processing. Yeah.
I love this stuff. It's so fascinating. Alrighty, so switching gears, you're rolling, all this stuff happens, boom, everybody tells us to go inside, you can't go to work anymore. what happens then? That was like the worst way to describe COVID, by the way.
No, no, but I mean that's how we all feel. That's how it happened. It
Uh-huh.
just came out of nowhere and this whole new world opened. So right before COVID happened, okay, I'm working this desk job, which is where my comfort
Yeah.
zone is, right? I get to
Yeah.
hide behind my computer as my little introverted self and just do my tasks. But right before that, I remember scrolling on Instagram and finding this account, and it was Cash Bunny. I don't know if you know who Cash Bunny
Mm-mm.
is. She's super creative, super talented. She's a director. But what I found was these little snippets of video that she's making online that were like little visual effects. And I just remember like going up to my friend at work and saying, like, have you have you seen this? Like, this is crazy. Like, look at what this girl is making online. So that kind of manifested into me finding this whole world of creative people. This is when I got exposed to creative people on social media. I could not believe it because it was like taking me back to the little videos I was making on the side when I was in college, and I was making these little videos where I was shrinking myself down, and but it was for no reason, it wasn't for
Yeah. Yeah.
projects, it was
Yeah.
just for fun. So anyways, so that was my first exposure. So then we get sent home and I find myself like not having to work quite so many hours. I had a little bit more flexibility and free time. So I remember telling myself like, oh, I'm going to start making videos on the side just as fun projects. And it was hard. It was a struggle. And I set a goal that I was going to make one video per month. That was my goal. Fast forward, and I found somebody else, Kevin Perry. I'm sure you know who Kevin Perry is.
Mm-mm.
Oh, you should check out Kevin Perry. He's
I will.
awesome, super inspirational. But when this happened in 2020, he set a challenge where he would choose an object for each month, and everybody had to make a video that was based around that. So this was
Oh.
like my first motivation tactic, and I stuck with it. And I was making videos like to get that, and then he would share them to his story at the end of the month, his favorite ones and stuff. That kind of got my muscle memory building for creating content. That was a big part of it. And then that year ended, the challenges stopped, but I started just creating more and more and more. Then I started. Hold on, let me think here. So I'm trying to think what question I'm answering right now.
Yeah, I'm just the transition between okay, because eventually come back to work, right? And you made a
Yeah,
decision at some point to be like, no.
yeah. There's quite a few things that happened before then because that decision was just this last November was when I actually quit my job. So I'll kind of speed through. So I start making content and I start seeing this as like, oh, these brands are reaching out to me. Adobe's reaching out to me. They're paying me money to make these fun videos online. I could not believe it. And so
Mm,
I started doing more of it and trying to squeeze more in and being more consistent. I wanted to grow that into my job. I wanted to see a future where this was what I was going to do. I got to kind of just have the reins, be more creative, and not just I didn't know if I was going to do it full time, but maybe a mixture of both
yeah.
jobs. And so I came across a coach and I hired a coach who helped me get some clarity about social media and Instagram and basically just helped me blow up my accounts, find a strategy. And that was just life changing. This was a little over a year ago when I was working with them.
Can you
Yeah,
pause
so
there because
I can, yeah.
you're awesome at making videos. So people might be shocked to hear that like you worked with somebody to help you on social because wouldn't making great videos be enough to blow up on social?
You would think so, and
Uh-huh.
that's that's a big misconception. So, for instance, like when people come to me now, a lot of small business owners come to me. They see my videos and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I just want to stand out on social media." These
Mhm.
real estate agents that like don't want to make the same content that all the real estate agents are making, and that's kind of the understanding is that if I make really cool videos, like they're going to blow up. But it's not quite that simple. There is a lot of like psychology and thought process and strategy involved, especially now that there's so many people online.
Yeah.
So like the goal that they think they have is, oh, I want to make viral videos. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I can help you do that. But really what they need, especially if it's a business owner, what they need is they need clarity about who their audience actually is and who they're making the content for, why they're making it, and really just getting a strategy in place that can help them have that clarity so that they can be consistent without burning out.
Right. Instead of like trying to
Yeah.
appeal to the masses and get that dopamine rush, it's like reach the fewer so you can be more effective. The quote fewer.
Yeah, and like the whole idea of making viral videos, like that stuff comes, right? Some videos
Mhm.
are going to go viral. If you focus on the right things, then you can get that too. But if you're just shooting for like getting the most amount of views, then that's not going to help your business, you know?
Totally.
Like, yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So what happens next then? Your account starts growing, you finish working with them.
Yeah, so I was able to grow my account to over 500,000 followers. That's across like three different accounts, TikTok,
Hmm.
Instagram,
Yeah.
and Facebook in like 6 months. And I just learned a whole lot. And
What do you
when you
credit
talk
that
about
growth
like
to?
so Social Boom is a little company. They
Hmm.
run a coaching business, but they so it's Travis Brown and Dan.
I know Travis.
Yeah, Travis is freaking awesome. He's
Yeah.
so cool. And like honestly, Travis gave me the little kick that I needed cuz like you said, I knew how to make good videos, right? And I showed him this video and he says, "Oh, you need to do this and this, like small little tweaks." And that was my first viral video ever. It just got like over 400,000 views on TikTok in just a couple days, and that was when the light bulb came on. And I'm like, "Okay,
Hmm.
there's something to this." It's not because as creative people, we're very connected to like our we have like an emotional connection to our content, and it's hard to really think from an objective standpoint, you know, and look at
Hmm.
like why is this working, why did it not work. We just keep going, we just keep testing things without really assessing the situation. But
So what did you know, being close to it, when you kind of stepped back and looked at it from a strategic perspective, what was the one or two things that that light bulb moment was for you in your content that you had to switch?
the biggest thing that was actually the hardest thing for me to do, and I don't know why, but I now understand because I see other people doing the same thing, is the hook, the visual hook. So
Uh-huh.
from like a storytelling point of view, I always felt that my video stories had to have this like lead in where you're like building up the story, and then you have this moment
Like
that
a
people were
movie.
waiting for, and like a movie, like I
Right.
was trained, right?
Right.
Like I've always been
Which makes
told.
sense.
It does make sense. But I mean, I think if you look at earlier content that I made, a lot of my videos would start off and they're very slow. And then like 10, 20 seconds in, that's when this moment happens. And
Hmm.
he goes, "No, dude." And so the video was me jumping into a coffee cup. It wasn't an original thing. It was something that somebody had done before.
Yeah.
I think Zach King probably
Yep.
was the
Yep.
original creator. I was making this video and he says you need to trim off like the first 6 seconds or whatever, and I'm like, I
Yep.
can't do that. I can't do that. I just
Because
could
you're a
not wrap my
trained
head. I was just
yep.
it was just like in my
I
part
know.
of my being that I need those seconds in there. But sure enough, like I am teachable. I try to remain teachable, and I listen to him. And then also he said, put a relatable hook on there. So like
Yes.
I put, I think, coffee hack up
Yep.
at the top, and I'm
Yep.
jumping into a coffee cup. And what happens is you see me, and then 1 second later, I jump into the coffee cup, and the video just blew up, and I couldn't believe it because I know for a fact if I would have left those 5 or 6 seconds there where I'm walking out of the kitchen, and then you see me come around the corner, that everybody would have just scrolled away. So that was a huge light bulb moment for me that I try to pass on to everybody, and it actually was really hard to grasp.
You said something
And
really important, and I want to highlight it. And it was in passing, but you said like the most important thing was the hardest thing for you to do. And that teachability thing is so important because I know, like, I'm working with a coach right now for fitness, right? And it's like the thing that she says that I just want to throw in the trash can, like, oh, you know, whatever, is the thing that I have to do. It's like the obstacle is the way, right? It's the
yeah,
thing if you feel that like gut like ugh, that's probably the hack to your growth. Easier
yeah,
said than done though, right? Right.
easier said than done, but it's so true
Yeah.
that
So
growth
you're
comes from discomfort.
absolutely you grow the account, you start seeing traction, you're getting these brand deals. At what point do you start saying, "Hey, I'm going to monetize and help other creators"?
Travis and Dan also helped me see that I could turn my teaching into coaching. So I
Mhm.
started coaching people. I started testing out this theory of coaching that I had never done before, which was also out of my comfort zone. Like teaching through a video is one thing, being able to do my voiceovers is one thing, but getting live on camera and teaching. But I found out that I actually really enjoyed it and that people can really gain quick knowledge from it and they can level up their stuff a lot faster the same way that I did when I was sitting in a room next to my mentors, because you
Mhm.
have that person to just go, hey, why isn't this working? And instead of like watching 8 YouTube videos, you just get the answer right then. That's when that next light bulb came on. Like, hey, I can make money doing this, and it's fun
Yeah.
and it's rewarding because I'm getting to help people. Like, how crazy is that? So fast forward, I got approached by Kajabi. Not sure if you
I
know
saw
the
that.
company.
I use Kajabi for everything. They're my favorite.
Nice, nice.
Also, if
Yeah.
you'd like a
So,
free 30-day trial, go to heatherperry.com/Kajabi. Go ahead.
or you can go to my affiliate. No.
No. Gosh, that would be a great sketch, like a real idea where you have two creators on a podcast and one like drops their affiliate link, the other one's like, there's like a that would be so
It's an
badass.
affiliate fight.
Oh, okay. I have a lot of ideas, but go ahead. Go ahead. Keep going. So Kajabi approached you, which is badass.
So at this time in my head, I'm like, hey, I want to do more coaching. It's a lot of work. Obviously, like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning as I go, and I'm doing a lot of one-on-one coaching, which is very time saking. And Kajabi says, hey, like, do you want to work with us? We have this creator incubator program, and we've chosen 10 people across the U.S. in different US or world or whatever it is in different niches that we want to help launch their first course. And I'm like, that's cool. Like of course I do. So this guy like puts my name in the bucket and they chose me for that. So I started building a course and I'm doing coaching at the same time and trying to kind of like balance the two. I'm also still working my full-time job. Also need to
And you have a
mention that
family.
so yeah, so there's a few other things. Let me throw them in there. So, and the timeline is a little blurry, but we live in North Carolina now. So
Okay.
I also moved my family to North Carolina so that I could focus more on this stuff and not deal with the
Wow.
craziness of LA. And and my company I was working with let me hold on to my job and work remotely from the East Coast. Okay. So my time was 9:30. My shift in LA was 9:30 to 6:30 usually. Now I'm on the East Coast, so my time is 12:30 to 9:30. So I
Oh,
was working that shift for a while, but that gave me the whole morning to focus on whatever I wanted to do. So
that's
that is when I was
dedication.
working with Travis and Dan, and that is when I was creating those videos that helped me kind of scale my brand and stuff. So I kind of was able to focus there. Yeah, and then the Kajabi thing happened, and I started working with them, which was a process. I did not know how to build a course. I did not
Mhm.
know what I was doing, and there came a point where my company, the writer strike happened, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to think when that was. That was like August, maybe? After they had told me that your job is safe, you're fine. Like, I don't think that you're going to have any problems working on the East Coast. Then the writer's strike happened and I got put on furlough. So
Yeah.
I had no job and they put me on a 90-day furlough. So it was just out of nowhere. Probably again, the best thing that ever happened to me. So this is when I was just like, okay, I'm going all in, and I actually hired another coach, which was a leap of faith for me because I wasn't financially in a place where that was the best decision,
Yeah.
but I knew inside like that was the only way to like take another leap and
So true.
really find out like what I can do. So the idea was to scale my coaching business. Shortly after that is when Kajabi found me and they offered me this thing. So now I'm like scaling, trying to build this coaching business. I'm building a course, and then November rolls around and my job asks me to come back, and that was like a big moment in my life when I told them no.
Ooh. I got another chill again. What made you
Yeah,
what made you
it,
tell them no? What made them tell what why did you say that?
I just so many things like my mind had opened, and I've just seen so many possibilities, and so many people get success online now
Yes.
that I believed that I could do it. Not that it's easy. It's not easy. I'm still trying to do it. Um, but I knew that if at that moment it was literally like a fork in the road where if I would have went back, I would have just been there forever. And
Mm.
if I take this leap of faith, which was not a good, I was not ready to do that, like ready,
Uh-huh.
then I could really like test the limits and try to
Come
build my own
on.
business and see what I'm made of, I guess you could say.
And then I think I saw in Kajabi it was a pretty successful launch.
It started off rough. I was working with a little marketing team
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't go well. Like it was just kind of like a do this, but I've always been a person that wants to know like why am I doing
Why?
this?
Right.
Why is it working? Why is it going to work? Like I
Mm-hmm.
always want to know the nuts and bolts, not just tell me what to do and then me follow a direction. So it didn't work right. I tried launching the course. I got a couple sales out of it.
Was it to your
Um
IG audience? Was that primarily top of funnel what you were relying
yeah,
on?
yes. So
Yes.
this was just to my current audience on
On
IG.
Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got a couple sales. I remember we were going on vacation and I had this goal like okay, I'm going to do a pre-launch before I go on vacation. I did that, got a few sales, and then came back around from the vacation and I at the time I still had this mentality of like okay, I still want to like scale my coaching. The course was like a secondary thing that I was going to have in the
Right, right,
background.
right.
I'm trying to lay this stuff out in order. A lot's happened and a lot of it is blurry, having
Mm-hmm.
two toddlers. It's very
Mm-hmm. No, I
just
get it,
a
man.
lot of moving parts. But I came across another thing that is called 30-day course creator. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with the guys at contentcreator.com.
A hundred
Like
percent I am.
yeah, these
I
guys
love
like are
them.
just they're just crushing it and they're also like such great humans with what they're building.
Yes.
So, long story short, I got into the 30-day course creator program and it's basically like a blueprint of like here's how you can do it, here's why, here's how, just all the nuts and bolts there laid out. So, I followed that and did like I would say like a more legit pre-launch and from there it's just been this climb.
So normally when I think of launches, I think of you have some kind of webinar, free event, whatever, and then like drip campaigns afterwards. Is that kind of like the high level strategy that both these people put you through, or was there something different? Because the reason I'm asking this
So,
is I had, it was several months ago, it was a friend of mine who has a huge Instagram following, like million plus, in tears because they launched X and it didn't convert. And they're like, I've been busting my ass building this audience, put out
yeah.
this offer, and it's like effing crickets because people are like, audience equals income, and it doesn't. And so I want
Mhm.
to press into this with you if you don't mind, because we work hard as creators to build an audience. And then when you have your expertise here and it doesn't sell, immediately you're like, I suck. People hate me,
Yeah.
whatever, whatever. But the cool thing about you is you figured out this is just a knowledge thing. And so you found, but yeah. So what was kind of like the thing you weren't doing with the Kajabi piece that did work with the content?
I built my audience based on a certain type of content. I was not a coach. I was not. So there's a difference between having products for sale at the beginning and trying to sell products after you build your audience. Because now I've built this huge audience that doesn't even know that I'm ever going to have a product. So when I come to
Mm,
them and I start asking for money, they're like, We're not going to give you our money,
mm,
And if they are, it's a very, 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 very small percentage of the people, first of all, that you're even getting in front of, and then a smaller percentage of those people that are willing to purchase. So the difference with this program is they teach you how to run ads. So
mm.
that was the game changer for me. And it's been definitely like a huge learning experience. I knew absolutely nothing about marketing a year ago, and now I love it. I always I always thought like, oh, you're a marketer. Like that's
You are
disgusting. I
totally. Yeah, yeah.
just had this weird taste in my mouth for it. And now that's what I'm kind of doing. And so that's been the game changer is paid ads.
Do you know it is, we have 9 minutes left, and I haven't asked you one thing about the whole thing I wanted to ask you about today. Your story is so fascinating, and there's so many little rabbit holes. I'm going to pressure you to come back on again, maybe for another conversation because I want to dig into storytelling a little bit. But if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit into your expertise and give people a little bit of taste of what you bring to the table. Because the cool thing is you've been traditionally trained around the visual element to videos, and that's what sometimes keeps people back from creating, is because they'll see what Tyler can do or what these other people can do, and they're like, I just have my cell phone and CapCut and I have a baby on my hip, you know what I mean? And so there's like so much tension because you may have a passion for X, but you feel like, I know I felt like you have to quit everything and become a media company and learn all these skill sets to ever freaking stick out or make a bang online. And I'm just curious your perception of that, because you welcome kind of everyday people into your circle, but you also roll and are professional. So how do you like all my hand movements? So how do you
I do.
find the bridge between both of those worlds?
One of the biggest things, and this is also something to take away from Travis and Dan, is keep it simple, right? I am a complicated brain. I like my brain is always firing and has so many ideas. But what I have found is the more simple that I can make something, the more it resonates with people. Also, maybe the better it performs, which that is also one of the biggest takeaways, but also one of the hardest things for me to do. When I used to get brand deals early on, I wasted so much time just concepting and trying to come up with like these perfect ideas. And it was because I was comparing myself to others online, like you were just saying, and just thinking that I had to be like them or I had to be better or, like that type of mentality. And really like keeping it simple is the best advice. So even students that I have now, they think that they have to create this amazing effect and throw all these like flashy layers on there and make it just blah 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 blah. But really, like if you have a concept in there that has a little bit of a story
Come
that
on.
resonates with somebody, that's all it matters. It doesn't have to be this long drawn out thing that all these things happening. It just has to have that one little bit of concept that people go like, oh yeah, like that's cool or that's clever. So that's kind of where my mindset is now, where I have to really like take a step back from all my pages and pages and pages of concepts that I have that I want to make and just go like, oh my gosh, those are going to take me a week to work on, and just figure out like this one thing of like, hey, if I make a video where like I can't find my keys and then they magically appear, like people are going to go like, oh yeah, I lose my keys all the time, just that
Yeah.
kind of like simple relatable type of stuff is
Yeah.
is more powerful.
I really hope we can do this again sometime because there's so many questions I
Anytime,
have to
yeah.
ask you.
Any-
Don't tell me that. I'll call you about 3 p.m. today. I want to just acknowledge a couple of things from you. I said it earlier. Whatever the hell happened to you when you were younger, and the fact that you are where you're at now is just so badass. And I have a family who has a lot of addiction too, and it's such a hopeless place. And it's easy just to kind of label things and be like, oh, well, that person, that's it for them. Even the young people, we give up so freaking soon. I just love your story. I'm so grateful you're vulnerable enough to share it. I think it's going to
mm,
help so many people.
got my
And the
hairs
other
standing
thing,
up.
do what?
My hairs are standing up on my arms.
Man, it's real, and I have to remind myself over and over again because I get caught up in content creation and trying to level up and trying to get new opportunities and whatever. And at the heart and the root of it, it's like all of this is about people's lives and helping people and improving our quality of life. And it's so easy to just kind of get isolated and narrow and forget like the bigger picture. So again, thank you for sharing your story on that. And then also too, you acknowledge a lot of people in this hour, like this person who helped you in this and this and this, and not a lot of people point back and say, hey, I appreciate this person who helped me along the way. So just so many good nuggets here. I think you're a really cool person. I want everybody to follow Tyler. Check out the videos that he has. They're wild AF. You have a huge community, people you're helping every single day. I have a final question for you, but where would you like to direct our listeners to if they want to learn more about you?
Just go to my Instagram. You can check out my bio, my link in bio, and there will be some info there. But I would just say check out some of the videos and see if you enjoy them. I have a course if you want to learn that, or you can also just learn for free straight from my page. There's tons and tons of free tutorials on there too. So
and community and all of that. And then if you want Tyler to come back and have some questions about editing and some more storytelling stuff, comment and let us know, and then maybe I can coax him into coming back and we can get some of your questions in. That'd be cool. Last question for you. What is something in your life that you are deeply questioning right now?
ooh,
And it
give me
can
a
be
second with that
anything,
one.
Tyler. It can be related to what we talked about. It could be literally anything. What is something that you're wrestling with?
I've been working really, really hard, working a lot of hours to build this business now that I see like light at the end of the tunnel, especially since my financial situation depends on this
Mhm.
business now. So I'm kind of contemplating where I go all in. I don't want to be too specific, but there's some like business type of opportunity there. Like not that I'm changing my
Yeah.
path, but yeah, I actually am struggling with trying to figure out the next big step because I know a lot of the little steps and the things I'm working on. Yeah.
It never ends, right? It never ends.
Ah,
It's always like a what's next thing for people who are going the unconventional path. That's for sure. Tyler,
yeah.
you're so cool. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us today.
Thank you so much. Pumped to be here.